Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm Aso, this is Aso Tarot, and in today's reading, we are going to be getting messages from your highest self. I apologize, it's been a minute since I have been here. If you can't tell by my voice, I have been recovering from the flu. I don't know if any of y'all have been sick, but yeah, it knocked me on my ass. So happy to be back, but if I cough and sound like I'm dying, it's because I was and I'm still getting over it. But with that being said, the goal of the reading today is to either, number one, give you assurance for how you're already connected to your highest self, and number two, help you see where life could maybe flow a bit more easily, or where you're already in alignment where you may not realize it. You know, the funny thing about being in alignment with our highest selves is that a lot of times what is actually in alignment for us may not match what our expectations are for ourselves, where we think we should be, or the expectations that we have projected upon us. So the goal here is to really help you get clear on where you're already doing everything you need to, where you're already in alignment with your highest self, and where you may be resisting being aligned with your highest self. We're going to see what that looks like, so on and so forth. So to start, we're going to look at an anchor energy. This is the energy that is aligned with your highest self, the energy that your highest self embodies. And when you embody this energy, you are directly embodying your highest self. That was just me repeating things a bunch of times, but I think you get the point. This is essential. So if you don't know if you're embodying your highest self or you're connected to it, this energy is going to show you what being aligned with your highest self should look and feel like for you, and also show you what is the most influential energy that's impacting every area of your life, and things of that nature. So once we look at that, we're then going to move into the tarot, and we're going to look at 4 different areas of your life. The first being your personal day-to-day life. This is like your routine, your internal world, things like that. We're going to look at career, school, basically your material reality, your material stability. Then we're going to look at relationships. This is not necessarily love or romance, but just interpersonal relationships in general. And then we're going to look at growth, evolution, momentum forward. You know, wherever your goals might be or how you're trying to grow, we're going to look at that as well. And if the cards, for each one, if the card is upright, that means you're already in alignment with this energy, or you're flowing with it. But if it's reversed, that means that there's probably a blockage, or there's like resistance to being in alignment with this energy. And essentially what we're going to do is, once we look at those, I'm going to take guidance that's actually connected to each of these tarot decks. Like, you'll see what I mean in the reading. And we'll get guidance for either how to release resistance in this area of life, or how to continue to stay in alignment with this area of life, or embody it in the ways that feel best for you, and that are aligned with your highest good. So I'm excited to do this reading today. I really hope that it helps you feel more confident in yourself, and I really hope that there are areas where you're already like, oh yeah, I'm doing that. That feels great to know that I'm already like, you're already doing the dang thing, and I'm sure you're doing a great job. And hopefully this will help you feel more confident to just continue being your best self, and recognize like, you don't need to be so hard on yourself. So we have 3 different tarot decks and stones for you to choose from today. So starting with group number 1, we are going to be using the Chakra Wisdom Tarot, and I have this agate daisy on top. And then for group number 2, we are going to be using the Light Visions Tarot, and I have this garnet hexagon on top. And then for group number 3, we are going to be using the Everyday Witch Tarot, and I have this Petersite Bear on top. So go ahead and pause the video if you need to decide which pile you feel most drawn to. It's absolutely okay to be drawn to more than one. If you are listening to your reading and you feel like, this doesn't really sound right, this doesn't really sound like where I'm at, then I would recommend you try a different group. You should be able to know whether like it's your reading or not. So if the things I'm discussing you're like, oh, that's not relevant to my life at all, you can confidently reject that reading because it's probably not yours. But if things are hitting, you found the right reading. No need to overcomplicate it. But once you've picked your group or groups, you can go ahead and scroll down to the description box or the comment section where I'll have all the timestamps listed below. But intro squad, we'll do a quick question today. What is a tarot card that you either are currently, or what is a tarot card that's either like not your favorite or frustrating or annoying to pull, or one that seems to follow you where you're like, stop following me? Like if you could block a tarot card, which one? For me, I would say it's probably the Four of Cups, because usually like the Four of Cups comes out, like it's one of those really annoying cards because it's like, I know I'm not seeing something. I'm trying to figure out what I'm supposed to see. And then you show me the Four of Cups, you tell me I'm not seeing something. Like, no shit. Like I wanna know what I'm not seeing. Like that's the, yeah. So I got beef with the Four of Cups. So if you've beef with the tarot card, let me know. I would find that really interesting. It's all love though. We love tarot, but yeah. But if you'd rather do one that you associate positively, or one that you used to see negatively and now you see positively, go for that too. I'd love to hear all of it. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead now and start your readings. So yeah, go ahead and pick. You can tell I'm out of it because I've just forgotten how to do intros. Yeah, once you've picked your group or groups, I will see you in your reading. Thank you for being here. Hi there, Pile 1. Welcome to your reading, and thank you so much for being here. If you guys chose the Daisy Agate and the Chakra Wisdom Tarot, this is going to be your reading on messages from your higher self. I overthought this reading to oblivion, so there is a full breakdown of the reading in the intro, but I apologize if it doesn't make sense. Hopefully just following this reading, it will make sense on its own. You know when you just like look at something and work on it for way too long and then you're like, I don't even know if this makes sense anymore? That's where I'm at, but I'm not even there anymore. I'm here with you and I'm grateful to be here with you. So we are gonna start by looking at the energy that your higher self or highest self is embodying right now. And this is your anchor point. So embodying this energy is what your highest self should look and feel like right now. And this is also an energy that is influencing all other areas of your life. So focus, I guess you could say. That's the word. I was looking for that word all day. Naturally, I find it when I start. I feel very comfortable with this group. So you might have to holler and say hi because we'd probably be good friends. Okay. Group number 1's highest self. What energy represents what group number 1's highest self looks and feels like? What is the energy, current energy of group 1's highest self? Yeah. Okay. Okay. I see why I was so transparent with you guys. And this is interesting because you would typically think like, oh, anxiety, like that's not a highest self. I'm hearing Dochi in my head. But actually, I understand how this is really your highest self, because this is about not resisting the reality of your experience at this time. Your highest self is wanting you to recognize that your anxiety is not something, or, you know, general internal struggles that you may be experiencing right now, number one, they're not the truth. And number two, there is a truth within them that if you avoid acknowledging this, you will continue to miss. Because underneath a lot of what's happening in your internal chaos is just a desire to feel in control, a desire to feel safe. And your highest self wants you to also understand that just because you can't physically see the nervous system dysregulation, the stress that you may be experiencing, the anxiety you may be experiencing, doesn't mean it's not something that's very important for you to take care of and treat yourself gently about. And also, it's important that you take it seriously. Your highest self wants you to take your internal world seriously, and also recognize how either being in denial about this reality that you're dealing with, or kind of avoiding it, or just telling yourself like, well, I'll move through it, it's fine, you know, it's not a big deal, minimizing it, not only is it actually wreaking a toll on your body, but I also think that you're keeping yourself kind of stuck in this quiet hell that you're not like validating for yourself, because you're just not even giving like yourself permission to be human. Like, it's natural and normal to have anxiety. It's, well, I mean, it shouldn't be. The fact though that, you know, like 1/3, at least I think it's the American population that has generalized anxiety disorder, but I can't remember exactly where that statistic is from. But what I do know is that, you know, anxiety disorders, but also just like anxious thoughts in general, are way too common. They certainly shouldn't be. But I feel like the energy that your highest self is meant to embody is one that takes what you're going through seriously, and one that also actually addresses and acknowledges what's going on, instead of minimizing it, you know, sweeping it under the rug, or just making self-deprecating jokes about yourself because you feel like that even having these feelings is like silly or makes you weak. It does not make you weak. It makes you very normal and human. And also, I would like to gently ask that you're patient with me in this reading, because I'm also feeling some anxiety because I'm doing the reading, but don't feel like, okay, when I say stuff like that, I don't want you to feel like that's your fault or like anything like that. Like, it's there. I'm just malleable to the energies that I channel, but it's my responsibility to be more centered. And that can be challenging when you feel anxious. But this is your higher self coming through, saying, let's stop minimizing and denying the challenges we're experiencing and the hardships we're enduring. And let's take this seriously, because even if we can't eliminate or eradicate this, we can certainly make our experience a whole lot better by not being in denial, you know. Denial should be a river in Egypt, not the state of your experience. So we are going to go ahead and go more deeply into this, and we're going to look at the 4 different areas of your life. Now, if the cards come out reversed, if any cards come out reversed, that is definitely a sign of an area of life where you're experiencing resistance. But I don't want you to be discouraged about that, because resistance is natural and normal. And not only are we going to get guidance to see how you can like restore flow in those places, but also there's a lot of wisdom in resistance. Like, it's not a bad thing and you're not doing anything wrong, I guess is the point of what I'm saying. And if they're upright, that means that these are things that you either can easily shift into alignment around or are already in alignment with. But another thing that your higher self wants you to know, and that I feel really called to say, is that people do not perceive you the way you perceive yourself. And it's really sad, and I don't mean sad in like a condescending way, but sad in a genuine, like, it's really sad that you cannot see that people look upon you with much kinder eyes than you look upon yourself. And you are real, and there are ways in which you've been pushing life away and missing out on life, and missing out on just like receiving more goodness, because you either feel like you don't deserve it, or you just literally have no energy or capacity to receive right now, because so much of your focus, like time, energy, is going to is directed towards survival mode, and just trying to endure like all of this internal chaos that you're trying to suppress. One thing I do feel called to mention, something that I learned a long time ago, like, I'm not saying this is something that you need to do, but it is something that has helped me, obviously not in all situations, but like, it is something that is tangible. With things specifically that I have fears around, but I do also have to mention as well, like, this is more so, it works better in some applications than others, but essentially, for things that you find yourself ruminating fearfully over, especially things like that you're afraid of happening, one of the best things that you can do is create literally like plans for, if this happened, how would I go about this? So like, for example, driving makes me really anxious. And so there are different like fears around certain things that can happen. And so I have mental plans for what I do when something like that happens. So, you know, for example, if it's snowy and icy, I have the steps in place for, okay, here's what I need to do when that happens. So basically, it's like having like emergency plans, and like just preparing prematurely for things you're afraid of happening, so that, number one, when you find yourself ruminating over them, you can tell yourself, well, I know what to do if that happens, and it's not happening right now. So you can like trust that you are as prepared as you could possibly be. And I feel like that helps me a little bit, just kind of like accept that while the fear may be there, I don't have to over like think it, because I know what to do in case. I would encourage writing it down. But yeah, just anytime you find anything that comes up that you're just like really worried about happening, make a plan for what to do in case that thing would happen, so that you're prepared or know what to do. Also, for some of you, I'm feeling called to if you can, take a CPR class. That might really help you. Honestly, I need to redo my CPR certification because I really don't remember how to do it. Okay, we'll give these one more good shuffle. Okay, so what does alignment with group one's personal life, what does that look like at this time? How can group one be their highest self in their personal life? Okay. How can group one be their highest self in their career world, school world, material stability in general world? How can group one, I keep calling you group three, don't I? Hopefully I haven't out loud, but I have in my head. Group one's relationships, interpersonal dynamics. How can group one be their highest self? That. And finally, how can group one be in alignment with their goals, growth, evolution, and forward momentum? Okay, so let's go ahead and start by looking at how to be aligned with your highest self when it comes to your personal day-to-day life. Okay, so for that we have the King of Swords. that's really interesting. So I definitely think that one of the best things you can do for yourself is be a little bit more cool, calm, rational, and use your intelligence in ways that psychs out your anxiety or challenges it. What I mean by this, one thing I would recommend doing is talking back to like negative, intrusive, or overwhelming thoughts. I really feel like hearing yourself say them or speaking back to them could be something that helps you, number one, remember that you are not your thoughts. And your thoughts are not a reflection of who you are. Like, your highest self is not what your brain is doing. Think of those thoughts like farts. You know, they just slip out sometimes. Sometimes we can focus and control them, but you know, if we don't acknowledge them, they can be silent and deadly. So we don't want that. But also, if there's anyone in your life that really just helps you, if there's anyone you can co-regulate with, or someone who just has like very rational, clear perspectives, you know, someone who can help you get in like a cool-headed place, that will always be beneficial, because I feel like right now it's really ideal for you to just be honest and truthful about where you're at and also what you need, and be open to seeking help in ways that number one, help you feel in control, but number two, also help you channel your intelligence and your quick thinking mind in ways that are beneficial. I also think as well, if you're gonna be stuck in your head anyway, one thing that I would recommend as well is to give yourself permission to dive into the things that interest you, whether it's like getting sucked into a book or learning a new topic or diving into a hyperfixation or a special interest. If you've been feeling guilty about doing those things and devoting lots of time to those things, I think you should actually just give yourself permission to embrace them, because they seem to be, number one, giving your brain something productive to do, and number two, actually bringing you enjoyment. I paused a little bit ago because I realized there's Weimaraners on the card. I used to have a Weimaraner. Shout out to Bella. She was my baby and I miss her all the time. So every time I see Weimaraners, I'm just like, if you have a Weimaraner, you're very lucky. But also Weimaraners are really, really, really intelligent dogs. Here's a funny story about mine. She learned that if she barked while my mom was on the phone, she would put my mom in a compromising position. Because she like learned that like my mom would be kind of trapped when she was on the phone. So she learned quickly that she could get treats if she barked while my mom was on the phone. So my mom had to start taking calls upstairs, because Bella knew how to scam her for some treats. I think one of the things about alignment for you, especially in your day-to-day life, is giving yourself safety rails of logic that you can lean on when your internal world is chaotic and you know you're being irrational but you can't stop it. Like, even if it doesn't relieve the feeling, at least you have something to hold on to. So like, for an example that I would say of what I mean by that is like, you know, whatever you know helps bring you back into your body, or whatever you know helps release mental energy, like having like an emergency plan for like when you really need to get out of your head, or when you or like developing plans for how can I accommodate myself better, or where do I need to be looking for support or resources that can help me. I feel like anything like that is going to be super helpful for you. But also, considering there's crown chakra energy here, I really feel like the universe is conspiring to help you find those things already on your own. And also, I would say if you're neurodivergent in any way, one of the things that I think could help you as well is by being just very honest with yourself about what your limitations are and what expectations are unfair to have of yourself. You know, if there are ways in which maybe you are judging yourself through like a neurotypical lens, maybe look at how that's not only irrational but unfair to you. One thing though that I hope is kind of a relief to you is that alignment for you doesn't have to be getting out of your head completely or like ignoring your thoughts. You can actually lean into being in your mental body, but just do it in ways that are just actually enriching to your life, or and even if they're not enjoyable, they should at the very least bring you to a state of neutral, like a state of where at least you're not like stuck in rumination, you're reading a book or getting sucked into a world, you know, that, sure, you could call that avoidance, but I would say that's just healthy coping, and also something that we all deserve to enjoy from time to time. You have the maturity and the wisdom to make good decisions for yourself. You know what you need. And actually, I would say, especially for those of you that are neurodivergent, you just might doubt extra what you really need, and you might feel like maybe you don't really need that, and you're not taking into account the reality that like you need different things to function, and you might need certain accommodations that other people don't, and that's not a problem or a bad thing. The problem and bad thing is is denying yourself what you need to succeed, or what you need in order to feel like safe in your body and enjoy your experience. Like denying yourself those things is really cruel. It's self-betrayal, and the world can be very cruel and not understand why those needs exist, but you don't have to agree with them and play into that. So let's look at career, school, material reality. So we have the Queen of Cups here, and I really love this. I really hope you're doing something that you're passionate about, or even if you're stressed out about your material experience right now, it seems like you're really being called to be in your heart space in a way that emotional fulfillment is important in this area of life. And alignment with your highest self is one where you don't have to separate your emotions from your experience. Your emotional intensity, big brain and big heart, love to see it. Actually, instead of it being like focused in your personal life, I actually think being focused in a career, school, or material stability area, I think that's going to be really beneficial for you. I feel like if you are, like, for example, if you're considering changing your major, or if you are in a career that is typically emotionally fulfilling, but you're having issues, or you're in a job that's just very like, it's taking what you have to offer for granted, or it's not allowing you to channel your whole heart, or like it's not an effective use of your heart energy, of what you care about. I definitely think that alignment with your highest self looks like you committing to, aligning with, or focusing on that area of your world, you serving in a way that is deeply fulfilling to your heart, and that also is really meaningful to you. So like, I definitely think that there's also a lot here with like psychic gifts. So if you're in a state where maybe, for example, you don't know what you're doing, or you know you have to stick through something, or whatever's going on in that area of your life, if you're worried that you care too much, or if you're worried that what you have to offer is going to waste, trust your intuition there. I think that you've got a lot of psychic clarity when it comes to this area of your life, but maybe just a lot of fear around implementing those things. And I feel like this Queen of Cups is here to say, you know what to do here. Or if you need to do anything at all, maybe it's just staying the course, you know? Maybe you just feel embarrassed because you care a lot. I get that as someone who cares a lot, but that's a beautiful thing. But there are definitely some places where that is better, where that energy, like where placing that energy is more effective than others, and where you get more in return. But there's a greater message here of like whatever you might be feeling intuitively about that area of your life, to trust it. And even if you feel like it's illogical or it's irresponsible or something like that, I feel like there's a greater wisdom at hand that maybe if you're even if you don't know like what's unfolding or why things are happening this way, trust the process, because you're doing exactly what you need to and you are in alignment with that area of your life. There's definitely a message here around knowing that it's okay to feel very deeply, but also if you're dealing with any sort of like compassion fatigue, in terms of that area of your life, like, and maybe this goes into this King of Swords as well, like if you are feeling compassion fatigued, I feel like that's all the more reason why you deserve to take more time for yourself, even if it feels irresponsible, or even if you're like really stressed out about, you know, your financial stability or things like that. There's still a message here of trust the process and trust yourself and trust what you need, even though it might feel wrong or it might feel like you're taking a bunch of steps backward, but you're not. You're really actually, you're doing the most effective thing possible by replenishing yourself. You need that. Also, trust your gut about anyone in your environment that, like especially in a career school environment, trust your gut. Whether it's a positive or negative gut feeling, trust it. You don't need to see it through and see if you're correct. Just trust it. It'll bring you a lot of peace. Okay. Now, as for your relationships and interpersonal dynamics, we have the Magician in reverse, and that makes a lot of sense. Where you're not in alignment is with communication, and is also with you allowing yourself to be more expressive. It seems like with the Magician in reverse, not only have you either been out of touch with the people you care about, you've either been out of touch with them, or maybe you haven't been connecting with them as deeply as you would like to, or maybe you're trying to make those connections. You know, maybe you're struggling with loneliness or struggling to find meaningful friendships, or just meaningful relationships in life. I really think alignment for you looks like stepping back into your power and recognizing, number one, like how you deserve to be seen, and you deserve to have like people in your life that see you. You deserve to have reciprocal relationships, and also you have power over how you experience your relationships. And obviously we can't control what other people do, but I do think there is a part of you that may miss out on certain things, or miss out on connecting with people you care about because you're either worried that you're bothering them, or you're afraid to share certain aspects of your life. And so even if you are connecting with people, there's a sense of maybe loneliness that you're not acknowledging. I definitely think though this is meant to be upright, and so I really think that when you're in alignment with your relationships, you are setting dynamics instead of letting others. If you've had kind of a laissez-faire attitude towards your relationships, like maybe you've been afraid to, maybe you haven't wanted to be the one to reach out first and do things like that. I get that, but I feel like it's just one reality of life is that like everybody's busy, and sometimes we just got to do that even though we don't want to, or even though, you know, our ego might be like, well, they're not reaching out to me first, blah, like maybe they're in their heads too, thinking like, oh, it's been forever since I reached out, I don't want to seem like a jerk, or what if they hate me? Like, you might not even realize that in some of your relationships there might be like avoidance, hesitance, or fear around opening up or around interacting with certain people. And that fear is not like either, it might be mirrored, like they might be having the same ones, but I really think in terms of your interpersonal relationships in general, alignment with them looks like you feeling, number one, inspired by them, inspired, feeling safe in them, and also just being more communicative in general. Like, it's okay to be in hermit modes and stuff like that, but I think there's a part of you that's maybe been craving social connection and that hasn't been reaching out because you've just been overthinking it, or maybe you've just forgotten that like you can do that, or have been struggling like with the mental bandwidth. But when you are in alignment with your interpersonal relationships, you bring the old razzle dazzle. Yeah, you always have. And you also don't have to feel like you have to hide how you feel about people, and you don't have to feel like you have to hide who you are or how you're really feeling or what you're really going through. And I also think as well, you might be obsessively overanalyzing certain relationships in ways that it's so far out of touch with reality that it's like, it's just not, number one, it's not healthy, and number two, it's not realistic to what's actually happening. I think that if you've been feeling disconnection from certain people or feeling disconnected from others in general, putting more emphasis and focus on your interpersonal relationships and making more time for them and giving yourself permission, like for example, to talk with the people that you love sharing with and connecting, making time for those people and giving yourself permission to make that a focus of your life right now. I think you'll not only find that a lot more emotionally fulfilling, but also it could be great to have someone else like to co-regulate with. And I think also too help you see where maybe you're pushing connection away without realizing it, from fears that maybe you're not fully processing or consciously aware of. And then when it comes to your growth, evolution, and path forward, we have the High Priestess in reverse. Like I said, you know exactly what you need to do. You know exactly what you need. You just have a hard time trusting yourself. So I think there's something here about taking, number one, your psychic gifts more seriously, and number two, your intuitive world more seriously, and not needing to have logical, rational explanations for everything, and just trusting that when something doesn't make sense, either you'll understand it when you need to, or maybe it doesn't need to make sense in order for it to be true. I think there's a part of you that's afraid of trusting your intuition, because maybe your intuition is asking you to do things that freak you out, or your intuition is asking you to do things that take you out of your comfort zone. But those are the very things that are going to help you realize you know what you're doing, you know what you're talking about, and you know what you need. You really do. You know what you need. And I think a lot of the anxiety that you've been feeling in life is centered around the fact that the conscious parts of, like, the conditioned parts of you, I should say, are just really uncomfortable with what these deeper pulls, like what these, internal energies, this deeper process that you're undergoing, like how it's asking you to grow. It's liberating to the spirit, but terrifying to your conditioning. And it's natural that you're going to feel internal tension and overwhelm and anxiety when you're not listening to yourself, and when you're not, well, it's like, it's really hard, isn't it? Because it's like, it's scary to think about going out of your comfort zone. It's scary to think about leaving your comfort zone, but it's also scary to think about never leaving your comfort zone, and scary to think about not heeding the calls of your intuition. So I get it. But you can trust yourself. You know what you need, and you know how to move forward. Sometimes moving forward is sitting still. Alice in Wonderland seems to be like a significant theme for you guys. You've lived in a mad world your whole life. It's time to let yourself be a little mad and trust it, because like that's where a lot of magic is going to happen, and you're going to realize like, oh, I know what I need and I know what I'm doing. So we're going to go ahead and get guidance now, but I actually also, speaking of, I'm gonna add a little special aspect, and we'll pull a guidance card from this Alice in Wonderland deck to finish off. But we're gonna use the Chakra Wisdom Oracle to get guidance here. So for the cards that are upright, these guidance cards are just going to, well, they're guidance. Take it or leave it, I guess. I might read from the book. We'll see. What guidance do you have, Spirit, when it comes to group one's personal life and staying in alignment with this King of Swords energy? Yeah, this is really all about you recognizing cognitive distortions for what they are, recognizing rumination for what it is, and also recognizing illusions that don't serve you. I also think you need to give yourself permission to not have to be understood, to not feel like you have to understand everything, and to also accept that sometimes, like, you're gonna miss certain things. Sometimes, like, you don't have to always be, like, if you're not always on top of things, that doesn't mean you're failing. Let's see what Facade says quickly. I do love this book, so I feel like I probably will read them for you. The bronze boy, yeah, this isn't who I am. The bronze boy, Darnell, was young when his father died, and he became the man of the family. Out for a walk one day many years later, he was mesmerized by the sight of children playing. As a child, he'd never played, and he hid behind a tree, crying bitterly, then quickly buried his emotions. Sounds like someone we know. At the very end of his life, on his way to heaven, he stopped at the park and finally reclaimed the inner child he had left behind many years before. If you're unhappy in your relationships, you may be relating to others through a false sense of duty. Give up being something you're not. Bronze God is about reclaiming life. What have I done to heal my childhood pain? Key ideas: disassociating from yourself, reclaiming your life, healing childhood pain, and the keywords are recovery, integration, play. So I definitely think that you're meant to use this King of Swords energy to help you, number one, defend and protect that your inner child. And you shouldn't think of your inner child as like, oh, I connect my inner child by like playing with Play-Doh. Your inner child is just like the purest aspect of your essence that you were born with. That's it's your innocence, it's your purity, it's your connection to simplicity, joy, play. The idea that you don't know how to do those things, the idea that you're disconnected from them, is a facade. And also, there are truths that kids understand, and that your inner child, that you as a child understood, that maybe like it would really benefit you to reintegrate them. You know, kids understand what's truly important, and you understand what's truly important too. You're just struggling balancing that with what the outside world says is important and what your ego feels is important. Okay, what about in group one's personal, or not personal, in group one's career, school, material, stability, and reality? Impasse. I don't need to look at the book for this card because I remember it perfectly. So the story behind this card is that hikers are walking down a path, and this giant basically stands in front of them and refuses to let them move. And they're like, yo, giant, move. And the giant doesn't respond. He doesn't do anything. Like, they're like, boo, giant, like, get out of our way. And the giant's like, no, no. And so eventually the hikers give up and they take a different route. And as a result, they are saved from an avalanche that would have crushed them flat. So the giant was really being benevolent by blocking their path. So trust any blockages or impasses that you may feel at this time. If you feel extreme resistance to doing things, trust it. If you feel stuck in that area of your life, in this area of your life, trust it. There's likely a reason for it that's protecting you from something much worse from happening, and you know this intuitively. You know this. It's just hard for for your logical mind to trust that, because like if you're not, you know, pushing yourself at 110% all the time, like what are you doing? You can surrender to the wisdom that's trying to protect you. You can honor it. You already psychically, you were already connected to it. You already know how to listen to it. You just need to stop doubting yourself and trying to put, if you try to, instead of trying to push forward, either embrace stillness or redirect. Okay. What about in group one's interpersonal, in group one's relationships, their external dynamics? What guidance do you have to help group one get into this magician energy in their relationships, to be more expressive, communicative, creative, to set the vibe, to connect, give perfection? Oh, and isn't that so interesting that it's someone speaking? I definitely think number one, letting go of perfectionism and letting go of the idea that there is a perfect way to connect or relate. Well, let's just see what it says, because this stuff is so well written and I love the stories in them. I have the same high standards for myself as I have for others. Raspberry needs no makeup to accentuate her exquisite features, but she wears it anyway. She's a perfectionist. She speaks truth at all times, believing that she's helping others by sharing her truth. While statements such as your child is overweight are honest, they make others avoid her. Lonely, she seeks the advice of her favorite, elderberry, who teaches her who teaches her that honesty without kindness is cruelty. Her new vulnerability allows her to see the beauty in others as well as herself. Yeah, like, especially, like, if you're really beating yourself up for past ways of relating, especially when you didn't know any better or you were just doing the best you could, yeah, you definitely need to forgive yourself. You're definitely probably being too hard on yourself. Begin to look what's right and good in your world and you will see it. Where am I presently focusing? Knowing what's right and telling others about it might not be the best way of being. So yeah, part of that too might be like you're seeking perfection or feeling like I need to be perfect before I can seek connection, or like, you know, maybe there's people you want to connect to, but you're not reaching out to because you're struggling. And so you're like, I can't, you know, reach out to them until either number one, you have the energy to mask, or number two, you, are truly good, so you're like not bringing them down. I promise you, the people that care about you want to know how you really are. I definitely think that your biggest blockage to connecting with others and to feeling true connection with others right now is just putting unnecessary expectations on what connection needs to look like and how you need to show up. So maybe it don't do that anymore. Okay, what about this high priestess? How can, what guidance do you have for group one when it comes to honoring their intuition and trusting their intuition to help them reach their goals and guide them forward? Miracle. Look, and impatience is on the back of the deck. If this isn't a sign that everything's going to be okay, I don't know what is, but also a beautiful sign as well that like you totally don't need to have it all figured out, because the merit, like, well, let's just see what it says. Integrity is what turns on the light. Darkville is a town of self-centered people. One day, Betty is given too much change after making a purchase, and she returns the extra money. A brilliant light bursts from the stump of a dead oak tree in the center of town. The citizens, bewildered by the sudden brightness, but The citizens are bewildered by the sudden brightness, but neither question the sun's sparkler nor change their cheating ways. One day a child asks it why it came. It tells her that it shines for all that is good in the world and appears when a good deed occurs. The residents of Darkville are touched and become more selfless. Do you let someone in or do you pretend not to see them? You cannot shut out pain without shutting out pleasure. Kindness exists to lend magic to integrity. I know someone that's been shutting themselves off from themselves. And shutting out your pain is also, yeah, that makes sense. The essence of inspiration is integrity. Can I be counted on? Key ideas are being a light, lighting the way for others, and coming miracles. So yeah, I really do think like one of the best things you can do is just be honest with yourself and about where you're at. A miracle awaits. You instinctively know what is authentic. Trust this. I told you you can trust yourself. You know what you need. But I am going to trust my intuition that says you guys needed an extra guidance card. So we're going to do that. And I don't know if I'm going to do that for the other groups. So you better not say anything. And if the other groups are here, I love you guys. I felt intuitively called to do this. I don't know if I will do it. Maybe I'll do it for all three. I don't know. But this is the Alice in Wonderland Oracle, if you were wondering. Spirit, what guidance do you have, or Group 1's highest self? What guidance do you have for Group 1 at this time? What do they need to know for their highest good? And I mean, like, the biggest thing too is like, you are deeply connected to your highest self. The thing that just freaks you out is what your highest self asks of you, and the level of vulnerability, I think, with yourself required for you to be in touch with your highest self. And I think one thing that could really help you is stop judging yourself. Stop judging your experiences. Stop judging your sensitivities. Stop judging, you know, the weird intuitive things you can't explain, and instead start to see the magic in it. It's so cool that the way that you are is so perfect. Part of what makes you feel, part of what like creates so much struggle is believing that you have to operate outside those natural rhythms. In some ways you might have to, but in other ways you could be honoring those natural rhythms, but maybe it just requires you not shaming yourself or judging yourself for needing that. Use your time well. Make every moment count. I think I might do something better with the time, she said, than wasting it and asking riddles that have no answers. Asking riddles that seem to have no answer may seem like a waste of time, but sometimes it leads to discovery. When we allow ourselves to ask questions that may have no discernible answer, we might find out valuable things and unearth what we truly think and believe. But there is another element to this card, as there are people who will waste your time not only by asking questions that have no answers, but by deliberately asking those questions intending to take up your time. There are people in our lives who feel justified questioning, prying, or wasting our time. It is up to you to decide what questions are worth answering and those that serve no purpose and can be left alone. Like Alice, you could find yourself becoming bothered by people's desire to confuse you. When this card comes, it is essential to create a safe space about yourself and to know what you are prepared to do, what you are prepared to withdraw from, and what you will leave well alone. Trust Alice on this. There are many people in the world with questions that will simply waste your very precious and irreplaceable time. Answer only those that bring you closer to a resolution or that lead to a greater and deeper way of experiencing the world. Some people love to feel they are important enough to take up another's time for no sound reason. Do not let them waste yours. Someone could be wasting your time by asking questions they have no interest in answering. People not listening or repeatedly asking assistance but not heeding advice. Someone wishes to take up a great deal of your time in order to feel more important, listened to, and cared about. Set your boundaries. So I think that is pretty on point. I really hope I made good use of this time and all of this made sense. But Group 1, that is where I'm going to leave this reading. So thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you so much for letting my ads play in the background while you do something else. That is one of the most powerful ways to support me and show appreciation for my channel. But other ways to do that, you can check out my second channel, even though I haven't posted anything on there yet. I will at some point. You can check out my other videos, ones with extended. You can check out Sign up for my email list. Leave me a like, comment down below, let me know how it resonates. You can leave me a super chat, you can leave me a tip. My Cashapp is palehag, and my PayPal is my email. I can respond to you on Cashapp and on YouTube, but I cannot respond on PayPal. Yeah, that's all I have for you guys though. So thank you so much for watching and for letting me read for you. I really hope this reading helped and resonated. I hope you all have a wonderful day or night whenever it is that you're watching this video, and I hope you'll come back and see me again soon. Bye! Hi there, Pile 2. Welcome to your reading and thank you so much for being here. If you guys chose the Garnet Hexagon and the Light Visions Tarot, this is going to be your reading on messages from your highest self. So full breakdown of the reading in the intro, but we're going to go ahead and start by looking at what the overall energy of your highest self is at this time. This energy is something that is what embodying your highest self should look and feel like right now. It's also an energy that you can connect to or reconnect to anytime you feel disconnected from yourself or from the highest version of yourself. So if you just want to go ahead and set the intention that the messages most necessary come through, and just place your focus on the deck while I shuffle, feel free. And if you end up enjoying this, thanks for leaving me a little like ski. Maybe even a subscribe. Appreciate it greatly. Okay. Group number 2. What does group... Okay. We didn't even have to finish. Group number 2, your highest self right now looks gentle, calm, and receptive. This is really about getting into your feminine energy. And what I mean by feminine energy is yin energy. When I say feminine energy, I don't mean like gendered ideas or gendered expressions. I mean essentially yin energy. We all have yin energy within us, no matter who we are. But I'll actually read the card itself, because as someone who struggles to embody yin energy myself, I may not be the best at explaining it because I'm not even the best at embodying it. So, okay. So this card represents energetic life cycles, and its purpose is to help you identify the particular cyclic energy moving into or out of your experience. In its upright position, it heralds a yin cycle, where most of the action seems to be happening underneath the surface of things. This is a time of great receptivity, intuition, and gestation. External circumstances may be forcing you to go within and examine present activity. It's an especially good time for completion, so wrap things up. Yin cycles call you to be passive, yielding, and reflective. So open up to these sides of your nature. Being more than acting is the intention here. So anytime you take time to, for example, go within, sit in energies of imagination, allow things to unfold rather than feeling like you have to force or push, surrendering to your own natural rhythms or to the realities of the world around you, and honoring your natural rhythms in that process, all of that is going to be embodying your highest self right now. Your highest self really does want you to recognize that you don't have to be hitting your foot on the gas as I guess hard as you possibly can. You don't need to be going full speed. Actually, you could move further, faster if you slowed down. But I guess the focus on momentum in general is not aligned with your highest self right now. Your highest self really wants you to be gentle with yourself and to also embrace softness and embrace just going with the flow, man. Like going with the flow. Like you are a sweet lily pad and you are just chilling letting the current of the water carry you, and you just be what you are. In fact, if you ever do feel disconnected from yourself or from your highest self, or you just want to reinstigate connection, take time to either journal or sit in contemplation, or take time to like humor your inner world, and instead of looking for answers, just focus on how you can make that experience enjoyable and nourishing for you. Definitely the more nurturing you are towards yourself, and the more your actions support, I don't want to say like passivity, but yeah, passivity instead of activity, the more you're going to find that you just feel better. And so even if things are stressful in your world, or you have like questions or uncertainties, or you have a desire for answers that you're not getting, this is helping you get into a state of receptivity where you're far more likely to receive those answers or get the information that you need, because it seems like you can't really receive those things right now if you're just like continuing to push forward, or just, you know, in a place of like autopilot or something like that. So if that resonates and sounds like maybe what you need to hear, maybe not what you want to hear, or maybe it is what you need to hear and want to hear, then you've definitely found the right group. But I'm going to go ahead and shuffle your tarot now, and we are going to be looking at 4 different areas of your life and see how, whether or not you're already in alignment with what your highest self is meant to be doing in these areas. Even if the card is upright and you are already in alignment with it, if you're not doing it yet, that doesn't mean this reading isn't for you or you're doing something wrong. It just means that you can step into this state of being, this state of action, this state of embodiment, without thinking about it too hard. But if cards come out reversed, know that that represents resistance to being in alignment with this area, and resistance to what that energy is asking of you, and that's totally okay, because we're going to look at guidance for each thing, so we'll figure out how to release that resistance. But yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and shuffle because I think that's what we need. Okay, so for group 2's personal day-to-day life, what does alignment look like with their highest self? For group 2's career, school, material reality, material stability, what does alignment with their highest self in this area of their life look like? Okay, as for relationships and interpersonal dynamics, what does alignment look like? Okay. Is everything in the frame? Yeah, okay. I feel so bad when the cards get cut off and I don't realize until I'm done, and then I'm like, oh, you didn't see you didn't see like the bottoms of the cards. Oops. Okay, and finally, growth, evolution, forward momentum, probably something that you really want to know about, your goals. What energy represents alignment with that? Okay, so let's sorry y'all if you didn't hear in the intro. The reason why I've been gone is because I've been getting over a really bad flu, so if I cough and sound like I'm dying, it's because I was. Okay, so personal day-to-day life, let's look at what alignment for that looks like. Ooh, okay. So we have the devil in reverse, and so this is really interesting because, you know, when the devil's upright, obviously it represents shadow and it represents imbalance. And I think shadow, like obviously we might look at shadow and think of that as bad. Shadow isn't bad, it's just harder to see and it can seem scarier. You know how like at night you could have a weird shadow that looks like there's a monster in your house, and then you see it in the daytime and you're like, oh, it's just those were just tree branches. This is, yeah, like on the card. This is kind of where you're at right now. When it comes to your day-to-day life, it seems like you are out of alignment with your highest self here, because I do think there is a bit of denial about continuous imbalances and habits that cause those imbalances that maybe you haven't wanted to face or admit like need to change. And these don't necessarily even have to be negative or bad things. Like they could objectively be things that are like good and healthy for you in moderation, but that's just kind of the key, in moderation. It seems like you may like be consciously aware that you're not operating in moderation. Either like I feel like there's areas of your day-to-day life where you're experiencing excess, and areas of your day-to-day life where you're experiencing not enough of something. And both of those are probably stressing you out. And whatever you're indulging in, or like whatever is in excess, it seems like that I feel like you're using it to try to address the imbalances, or to just bring yourself comfort, or like it's the most natural thing to move towards. And you might even like have an idea in your head that these excesses are gonna help where you're not getting enough of what you need on a day-to-day basis. But actually, I think that whatever these excesses are keeping you from addressing the imbalances where you're not getting enough of something in your day-to-day life. I definitely think as well, though, alignment with your highest self is not shaming yourself, judging yourself, or beating yourself up for where your day-to-day life, daily routine, internal world is not where you want it to be. Instead, it's about just recognizing that it's not where you want to be. And instead of trying to fix it, actually sticking with what you're already doing, even though it's creating imbalance. Because I think the wisdom that you're looking for is in being present with those experiences. One thing I will say for sure is, like, while it might be boring or it might be like difficult to sit with the realities that you've been avoiding with yourself, there's so much wisdom there for you. And I think as you kind of sit with yourself in these habits and patterns that have been maybe more autopilot than conscious choice, I think you're just gonna have so much compassion for yourself, because you're gonna realize, like, oh, I was literally just doing the best that I could, or like, oh wow, I don't think maybe you realize how you've been kind of unfair to yourself, and maybe not recognizing the fact that you're not maybe giving yourself enough grace for just being human, and for just having the natural human tendency to like disconnect from ourselves. Like that's okay. And also like life, it's never been easier to distract ourselves. So I definitely think alignment in your day-to-day life is just being present with whatever is happening in your day-to-day reality, especially the things that you feel ashamed of, or the things that you, or the truths you're trying to avoid. By just sitting with them, I think that is alignment, and there's a lot of wisdom for you there. Now, moving on to career, school, material reality. material stability, whatever you want to choose there. Alignment with your highest self there looks like the World. So I do think that you are in a powerful place of like completion here. And I think you're just meant to embrace and celebrate a cycle that you've closed out. So whether that, for some of you, if you're graduating, congratulations. If you are receiving a promotion, or if you are like getting to travel for work, or if you are recognizing that whatever you're doing in your material world, like that's something that that you're kind of closing out and finishing up to start something maybe new in the future, or maybe you don't even know if you're starting something new, but like clearly there's a big cycle in this area of your life that your highest self just really wants you to embrace and celebrate. And I see why like this receptivity is also important, this yin energy, because I don't think you really recognize how far you've come. I think you've really been stuck in a cycle where you're like a hamster on a hamster wheel, and it's just like you're not like, you're not recognizing maybe how far you've come and how much momentum there's been. I definitely think as well, any opportunities to celebrate, and this doesn't have to be related to career or school. This could also be related to like others in your environment that are experiencing this, like that are like, maybe you're not the one, like maybe you're not closing out cycles here, but someone really close to you is, or someone that is part of your household is. I think opportunities to celebrate and just enjoy how far you've come and how far the people that you love have come. I think that is going to be very ideal for you. And also I think as well, if you've been considering traveling, I think that this is a sign of like, yeah, like that's yeah, yes, do that. That's a big yes from the universe, I think. I also think as well, you might be revisiting places from your past, or you might feel called to revisit places from your past. You might even feel called to take up like you might start doing like something part-time on the side, or be considering that, like revisiting it, especially if you feel like nostalgic for a time in your life when you did that. This might be your sign to revisit that, or to explore revisiting that. Ultimately those circles and swirls seem to be like significant patterns in your world. Also something to do with hypnosis. If you guys are exploring anything to do with hypnosis, I think that is, I think you're on the right track. Okay, relationships and interpersonal dynamics. Let's see what's going on there. Okay, we have the Queen of Cups in reverse. So I definitely think when it comes, and this is not just like one type of relationship, this is like all relationships in your life in general. I do think where you might be out of alignment here is, I don't think you're taking into consideration what your needs currently are when it comes to interpersonal dynamics. It seems like you're really showing up in ways that are, maybe you're giving too much. And this could actually be an example of where there's imbalance in your life, where like maybe you're spending a lot of time, you know, connecting with people that you do enjoy and that you do care about, but maybe you're forgetting that you don't have to respond to them immediately, or you don't have to say yes to every invitation, or you can always be like, hey, can I get back to you in a few days, or something like that. It definitely seems like you're forgetting where there's more space for you to take care of you, and also to have healthier boundaries in your interpersonal relationships. I also think if there's anyone in your life right now that is maybe very emotionally draining, or emotionally manipulative, or if you're interacting with them out of guilt, I think your highest self is really asking you to look at where you're resisting being honest with yourself about those realities, because I think that you may be taking on guilt and shame around these circumstances that are either not yours to begin with, or that are just like weighing on you psychically. And it's just like the guilt to begin with is maybe just not really healthy to be holding on to, and maybe not really fair to be hard on yourself around. I also think, though, with this Queen of Cups in reverse, there's what's also, I think, what you're finding resistance to in your interpersonal dynamics is maybe just like sharing more of your emotional realm, sharing more, and to be clear, I don't think it's because you're hiding it or you don't want to share it. I think you are just kind of disconnected from your internal world, which is why your higher self is like, hey, come back to you. It's a fun party inside of you, even though it's kind of scary. Sometimes it's like a haunted house, and yes, it's scary, but like what you will realize is that the haunted house is just, you know, paid actors, and they can't hurt you. And actually, you can change the haunted house to a fun house. And I don't know, your internal world is yours to live in and love. And I think that you've forgotten how profound and empowering your conscious connection to your internal world is for you. Or maybe you don't know that it is at all. It is. And one of the things that I think you'll find very shocking is if you struggle with your interpersonal relationships to just feel like, if things feel like they're outside of your control, or if you find yourself in certain dynamics where there's a lot of emotional unavailability, and you're confused about them and wondering, like, you know, is this healthy or not? Is this okay or not? Is this aligned or not? I think getting into your heart space and really feeling into what's happening for you on an internal level when you are interacting with these sorts of dynamics. I think your confusion around what to do or how to like address these things will be addressed the more you're consciously connected to yourself, because it will be so obvious. But what I will say, oh my gosh. Am I gonna? Yeah, I am. I am. I recently had a very powerful and like profound, I wouldn't say realization, but rather confirmation of a feeling that I had with someone who's no longer a friend, that had been my friend for a very, very long time. And they had interest in me beyond friendship, and I did not have interest in them beyond friendship, but I cared about them as a friend. And so there would be times where I would feel really guilty because they'd be interacting with me, or they would say something that was a little bit forward romantically, and I would just feel like untethered rage. Like I hear Dennis Reynolds in my head from It's Always Sunny, like I am untethered and my rage knows no bounds, like that level of intensity, but like just internally and quiet. And I would feel so bad about having that feeling, because I felt like I was just like an asshole. Like, I'm just an asshole for feeling that way. Like, they're not doing anything wrong. Like, they're just like, there's definitely always a little bit of plausible deniability in like how they would interact with me, so that I could just say like, oh, it's in my head, or oh, like I'm the problem here, like I'm the jerk, like, you know, like they're just being my friend, like, and I care about them as a friend, right. Okay, so I'm talking to them, right? And basically it comes up that I have a partner, and we've been talking for like 45 minutes about super interesting stuff, right? the way that their demeanor changed almost immediately, and for the rest of the conversation, they barely looked at me, barely interacted with me. It was like I was talking to a wall. It's like their energy checked out. And then I also found out that they were seeing someone for a year, and they never told me about them, which first of all is upsetting, because like I want to like know about those things and celebrate it. But also it was upsetting because it made me realize, oh, that was a very intentional choice not to tell me about that. And then I realized, oh my God, you've only been interacting with me out of hope that I would eventually have a romantic interest in you. And I've been only holding out here because, and tolerating the fact that you've wanted something that I don't want to give you and I felt bad about, because I cared about you as a friend. And then I realized, oh my God, no wonder my body has been like, ew, cancel, get it out, and like angry, and has this like visceral reaction of disgust and anger when I would interact with them, even in seemingly innocent interactions, is because the whole time they weren't genuinely my friend. They were just trying to get in my pants. Yeah, my body knew what the fuck she was talking about. She sensed a weasel. And she was right. And that, like, it hit me so hard. And I know that, like, a lot of people be like, well, yeah, like, you should, like, I didn't see it. I thought that there was an equal valuing of friendship here. But no, there was not. And it made me realize, oh my God, I'm so glad I listened to my body. At least enough to where I didn't allow my boundaries to be violated further, but realistically, my body knew the whole time this person isn't really your friend. But because they were truly my friend and I cared about them, I didn't realize that. And so that whole long story to say that if your body senses some fuck shit, you may not be able to consciously explain it, but give yourself permission to not have to understand it, because the feeling is the clarity. You don't need to wait to learn what it means. It'll just make your life easier and less stressful. So yeah, there's that. Hopefully that's helpful for some of you. If not, maybe it's just funny at how naive and gullible I am. But anyway, growth, evolution, forward momentum. 5 of Wands in reverse. Yeah, this makes a lot of sense. Stop trying to compete with yourself. Stop trying to fight to figure things out. This is basically being in alignment with your highest self here is about letting go of resistance to any internal conflict you might have, and also letting go of the idea that you have to fight and push and like keep moving forward. I would also say as well, one thing that is out of alignment for you also is when it comes to your goals and forward momentum. If you're in a place of like trying to fight or like push yourself so hard, or feel like you need to keep up with others or compete in any sort of way, all of that is actually causing you setbacks and is stopping you and actually blocking you from having your goals move forward. So I definitely think resistance to resistance itself is out of alignment for you with your highest self, and your highest self is really meant to see that the fight is not outside of you. It's actually, it's happening right now between you and yourself. And what you may just not be realizing is like, you don't have to fight, you don't have to push, you don't have to act. You really can just receive and see what happens. So we're gonna go ahead now and get guidance for each of these areas. I'm definitely going to be using the guidebook because this is the Cosma Visions Oracle. So it's kind of based on a tarot deck, but like they're a lot of them are so far removed from traditional tarot cards that I don't know what they are, so I have to look at them. But nonetheless, very cool deck. So we had to use it. Okay. Spirit, what guidance do you have for group 2? And group 2 is higher self. What guidance do you have for group 2 when it comes to releasing resistance in their day-to-day world and embracing their imbalanced chaos? We have the Ace of Wands and the Fighter. That's so funny. Speaking of fighting, I definitely think, so the Ace of Embers is definitely the Ace of Wands, right? And with the Fighter here as well, I definitely think this is about burning away it's like, stop fighting yourself. You know, it's very cold in this environment here. And I think with this, this Ace of Wands, this is about like bringing light to the parts of yourself you're resisting, and instead of fighting those, focusing on where you can bring light and passion to your day-to-day life in ways that you're not. And like an example of this is, think about the things that you do for like reprieve and relief, and ask yourself, like, what am I really seeking in that experience? And how could I seek that experience in a way that is uplifting rather than just dulling the ache of fighting my own internal resistance, essentially, if that makes sense. That makes sense to me, though, so we're going to keep going. Okay, what about in terms of group 2's material reality? What guidance do you have for group 2 there? We have the 10 of Cups. So I definitely think that there's like focusing on fulfillment once again. Also embracing like just opportunities to be connected to the people that you care about, opportunities to connect to the people that love you, and not settling for any idea that isn't fulfilling. Like, I definitely think that your material reality is meant to bring you deep emotional fulfillment because you're living in alignment with it, and also celebrating life in a way that doesn't demand perfection from yourself and from the world around you, but rather that sees the beauty in the process of the journey you're already on, and recognizes like where you could be celebrating and enjoying yourself and enjoying your life a little bit more, and also finding fulfillment in how far you've come. I do want to see what the book says for this. So it's the Two of Lotuses. No, 10 of Lotuses. Excuse me. At last, a time of peace. Birds sing as they fly through the cool... Well, if you want to read that first part, you can go ahead. But this card is a symbol of reflection, appreciation, and bliss. It does not ask anything of you other than to experience life as it was truly meant to be, uninhabited by clouded emotions and completely absorbed in the beauty ahead. You've journeyed far and experienced a wide range of emotions, some of which have left you feeling uneasy. Let yourself get lost in the tranquility of right here and now, a perfect moment of calm, and one that is meant to be enjoyed and cherished. Yeah, so if that ain't yin energy, if that ain't you being on your feminine shiz, I don't know what is. Feminine energy shiz, that is. Okay, what about group 2's interpersonal relationships and just relationship dynamics? What guidance do you have when it comes to helping group 2 release any resistance towards being their highest self in their relationships at this time? We have the Two of Trees. So I think this is the Two of Pentacles, and I'm gonna guess that this is about balance and reciprocity, but also recognizing where overinvestment or like where overinvestment in certain relationships or relational dynamics either create material imbalance or create an imbalance that makes it harder for you to focus on your day-to-day life. We'll see what it says though. The adaptability of the two sprouts is something we could all learn from. Yet this is a many-sided card, for it also speaks to the partnership of the water and the land, without which the sprouts would die. When it shows up in a reading, this card speaks to the importance of work relationships and asks us to be adaptable and compromise when needed in order to strengthen the balance of collaboration. So yeah, maybe like in general, some work relationships need your attention. But I would also say as well, like focusing on where there's balance give and receive, and also as well, if there are certain relational dynamics in your life where a person is maybe more grounded than you are, or someone that is a grounding presence, a grounding force, I think you are being guided to prioritize time with those people, because they will help you get more centered and comfortable in your emotional body, because it seems like they bring like this like it said, bridging earth and water. It seems like they could help create some stability just by like interacting with you. I feel like they could bring more stability that helps you step into your emotional body more, and just step into your heart space more in ways where you feel safe to let that flow. And there's like a container of acceptance and the opposites, or I wouldn't even say opposites, but like the opposing energies bring like balance and grounding. And especially too, if these people are grounded in ways where maybe they need a little more emotional richness in their life, that's your time to shine for sure. Okay, and finally, what guidance do you have, Spirit, for Group 2's growth, evolution, and path forward? We have the Pelican, which is the Emperor. I love that. And I just want to read it because the Pelican, I actually pulled this card for myself recently, and there were things about pelicans that I did not know. So you gon' get to learn too. Okay. Structure, control, discipline. The pelican is the first bird you encounter as you cross over the spirit plane. It is the emperor of the unknown. The glowing scepter and the claws in its claws filters the world you see, and instead the pelican shows you what must be seen. It is the guide for yourself within yourself. It requests your deepest fears, sorrows, and pains to come to the surface. For some, only mere hours are spent with the pelican. For others, it can be years. Once you've settled your physical karmic debt, the pelican takes the debt into its scepter and grants you passage forward. So quite literally, this energy is all about helping you move forward. The pelican essentially represents spirit plane boot camp. When it comes up in a reading, it can be a symbol of structure and control, but it can also represent rigidity and coldness. If so, there may be a need to confront your inner self. When you see the pelican, ask yourself if you are avoiding something that needs confrontation in order to move on, or perhaps ask if you are being controlling about something that requires lightness. I definitely think when it comes to your path forward, there is some lightness required, especially because we have the world here in your material everyday reality. Like, you're not in a place of new beginnings, you're in a place of coming into completion, wrapping up old cycles. It's like expecting yourself to start a whole new movie when you haven't even closed out the other one yet. It's don't rush this part of the process, because I actually think it's really important for your new beginning. Well, whatever new beginnings you may be trying to create or cultivate. But also I think that there's a necessary reconnection to what's your actual inner power and like your true and the truest like essence of your own source energy, that connection is imperative for you to be in alignment with your highest self, and for also you to be connected to inspiration, wisdom, faith, trust, the necessary fuel for your evolution to meet your goals and to move forward on your path. So group 2, that's where I'm gonna leave this reading. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this, and I really hope that it was helpful. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for letting my ads play in the background while you do something else. Letting them play for the first 30 seconds is really helpful. Thank you so much to everyone who does that. Other ways to support me: sign up for my email list. You can check out my second channel. Maybe you can drop some inspiration for what I should post there, because I had so many ideas until it became real, and then I was like, Suddenly I forget everything I've ever thought. Every creative idea I've ever had has abandoned me. That being said, though, yeah, other ways to support are linked down below. Liking, subscribing, commenting, all of that is really helpful. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for watching and for letting me read for you. I really hope this was helpful. I hope you all have a wonderful day or night whenever it is that you're watching this video, and I hope you'll come back and see me again soon. Bye! Hi there, Pile 3. Welcome to your reading, and thank you so much for being here. If you guys chose the Peter Site Bear and the Everyday Witch Tarot, this is going to be a reading on messages from your highest self. Feel free to check out the intro if you'd like a full breakdown of the reading. But we're just going to go ahead and start by pulling a card to look at the energy that represents your highest self. And this energy is not separate from you. You may not be in it right now, but if you are, that's confirmation you're already in like highest self energies. But also, this energy is meant to be like an influential energy guiding the area, like all areas of your life. It's like a predominant focus. And when you do feel disconnected to your highest self or unsure, like if you're connecting to it, this card is essentially meant to represent the energy that will help you reconnect to it, or that will help you know what being in your highest self looks and feels like right now. So, for my group 3s, what is the energy of their highest self at this time? What does embodying their highest self look and feel like? Ooh, okay, we've got Archangel Gabriel. I have to laugh. I know someone who literally looks exactly like this, and when I showed them that, they were like, but I don't like their outfit. Such Leo behavior. And I was like, it's consciousness. You can choose whatever. You can choose whatever clothes you want. But it was just so funny to me. I don't know. Do you guys have any have any cards or see any cards sometimes where like they look exactly like someone you know? It's kind of weird, isn't it? But if you don't know Archangel Gabriel, you should, because they are an excellent and amazing archangel. And it seems like your highest self, the blue theme really fits, because your highest self seems to be in a place of, number 1, strong angelic connection. And number 2, truth, communication, and basically energies of the throat chakra. So I'm actually just going to read this because it'll be easier. Self-expression and speaking your truth. Gabriel holds his trumpet in one hand and a beautiful orb of blue light in the other. He is sending powerful energy to your throat center, acknowledging your power to communicate and your readiness to do so. This angel opens you up to truthful expression, both with yourself and others. You may have had trouble with expressing emotions and ideas in the past, but Gabriel's here to tell you that your soul longs to take this leap now. Be aware that true communication includes how you speak to yourself, so never deny your profound and integral value. Speak up for yourself, write in your journal, let your words flow. Now is the time to express yourself freely and fully, and the universe always honors your choice to do so. This card could also indicate a communication project is coming, or a time with heightened communication with spirit and telepathy with others. So I feel like if you're not in this energy right now, like that is the, like, I know that that is the energy that will connect you with your highest self. But like, if you've been feeling this call towards truth, this call towards, if you've been wearing more blue recently even, or drawn to blue, if you're blue, da-da-dee-da-da, like all of that is your highest self coming through. I definitely feel like your higher self energies are always rooting towards the truth, and also sharing your voice, having your voice be heard, and recognizing that, and like sharing your truth or acknowledging your truth, or just even embracing it, is not always a comfortable or easy process. But every time you face that discomfort, you are so blessed when you do so. Not only that as well, but I think in being connected to your higher self, there might be times where, in order to really understand how truly connected you are to it, you almost need some sort of physical expression of the internal connection that's happening. So like, for example, journaling or automatic writing, or something where like you're writing down the experiences of conscious connection and like truth bombs that you're experiencing. All of that is really connected to your higher self energy. And then also anything that you connect to Archangel Gabriel. Shout out to the Gabriels and Gabriellas. Anyone with that name that is not a menace to your life and world could help you be connected to your higher self, or maybe acknowledging the truth. If there is a menace in your world, I don't know why there would be a menace in your world, but if there is one, maybe you need to acknowledge the truth of that. Maybe you are the menace, and that's okay. Maybe you need to stop calling yourself a menace. I don't know. But what I do know is that your higher self is speaking truth to you, whether you hear it or not. But these aren't truths that you disagree with. These aren't truths that don't make sense to you. These are truths that you already know to be true. They just may be uncomfortable to acknowledge, or something you're not ready to face yet. But the sooner you do, the sooner you will be in connection with your highest self, if you're not already. But we're going to go ahead and go even more deeply into this by looking at the 4 different areas of life, at 4 different areas of your life, and whether or not you are in alignment with your highest self in these areas, or if you are currently resisting that alignment. So if the cards come out upright, that does represent like you're already in alignment with this. And what I mean by that is you're either already doing these things, so you know, like keep going, or if you're not doing them yet, that to me is a sign that stepping into these energies, or doing what the card says, is not going to be met with much resistance, and it's going to be easy for you to embody. Now, if the cards are reversed, which you're going to be able to tell if they're upright or reversed based on the artwork on the cards, I don't want you to be discouraged and feel like there's anything wrong with these cards being in reverse if they do come out that way. That's just a sign that there's resistance to what alignment with your highest self in that particular area of life. Like there's just resistance to it. And we can look at what that is, and we will even get guidance on how to release it. So it's all good. And yeah, thank you for being here. Okay, so for group 3's personal day-to-day life, what does alignment with their highest self look like when it comes to their everyday life, their daily routine, their habits, goals, etc.? Okay, then for group number 3's career, school life, material reality, material stability, kind of, you can pick what you want to do there. What does alignment with their highest self look like in that area? Okay. I can already hear some of you being like, you didn't shuffle well enough. You didn't shuffle well enough. I shuffled this bitch for 20 minutes off camera, but like partially just because, you know, what's more satisfying than, oh, like that's just, yeah, like, I love that shit. Okay, what about group threes? Relationships and relational dynamics. What does alignment with the people in group three's life look like? Okay. You've seen how much I've shuffled. Don't get mad at me. Well, actually, you can get mad at me. I don't care. Because it's a silly thing to get mad at. And this is more interesting anyway, because the guidance, we'll get there. Okay. Finally, when it comes to your goals, your evolution, your personal growth, and forward momentum, what does alignment with group three's highest self in this area look like? Okay, see? Look, you got one. Okay. So, let's start with personal day-to-day life. So we have the King of Wands in reverse. So I can definitely see here that you're really struggling to step into your leadership energy. The King of Wands is straight up a leader. And like this King of Wands, man with a plan. And so no matter who you are, I definitely think that flying by the seat of your pants, just winging it, or just going about your day-to-day life in a very chaotic way that is either disempowering or that is avoiding, like, if you're avoiding taking charge and doing the things you know you need to, or creating more structure, as well as creating, as ensuring like what is in your day-to-day world is reflecting like the experience you actually want to have. All of that is really important. It definitely seems like with the King of Wands being here, you know, you could be taking charge of your day-to-day reality more. And I think what it comes down to is having conviction and confidence in what you know you want to move towards, and what you know you could be doing, what you know you want to be doing, what you know would benefit you. I think if you're really just hoping that everything will sort itself out, and magically resolve itself, I think that you're gonna find a lot of frustration and disappointment, because you don't need that. Like, you don't need someone to come and save you. Like, you are that person. You are your own savior. And I think when it comes to your day-to-day life, there are ways in which you already know you could be stepping up that you're resisting because it's uncomfortable. And there are areas where you may not, and there are things where it'll take time for you to get there, but you know it's out of alignment to not at least start and be making plans. So I definitely think your day-to-day world is meant to be a mixture of bold action taking and smart, resourceful planning, and enough like sovereignty within yourself to trust the process when you're doing everything in your power, and enough sovereignty to recognize when you need to give yourself permission to do things a certain way, giving yourself permission to take the lead, to take charge. All of that will be helpful for you. Nobody has the answers that you need but yourself, when it comes to how you should be moving on a daily basis. I definitely think that your days aren't yours right now, and that's partially because you're maybe not recognizing your capacity to take control of them back. And also you might be feeling frustrated and disempowered because you have the intention and desire to take more control and to be more empowered in your day-to-day life, but it seems like every day, like, you either don't plan or or it just, you fall back into habit and routine, and it maybe makes you self-destructive or feel like you can't trust, like you'll never get there, or you can't trust yourself to figure it out. Like you need someone to like give you permission first. Stop waiting for permission to make the changes that you know would benefit your life, and stop waiting for a blueprint or a vision of how exactly it's supposed to look. You have enough of an idea to be moving forward. I think you're just really afraid to see whether or not, I think you're just really afraid of failure. And like, but the thing is you're failing right now. Like moving and taking action, and well, you're not really failing. But what I'm saying is like resistance to stepping into leadership energy. Like that's the real failure. Like, it's just like, I don't know, like walking into a dark room, knowing that you could turn on the lights, and instead just cursing the dark. You know what you need to do. And there are things that if you need permission to take any sort of steps or action in your world, here's your permission. Okay. What about career, school, and such, or material reality? We have the Nine of Swords in reverse. So I definitely think there's a lot of stress in this area of your life right now. And I think that what alignment for you looks like here is acknowledgement of the fact that you are suffering and struggling in this area of life right now. And it's not going to get better by just wishing it away. In fact, maybe this is why it's so hard for you to make changes in your day-to-day. Maybe this is why, like, I never use like words like failure. I don't see you as a failure, by the way. Like, you're not really failing. You're just failing to see that you're being way too fucking hard on yourself. But also some of this as well, you have enough stress in your life. Stop taking on other people's stress as well. But also, one thing I can say here as well is that whatever is causing you so much stress and strife in your like material reality, in your career and school, being in denial about it is just making things worse, and also is just exacerbating the problem and keeping you stuck. I think you need to take seriously the intense level of like either anxiety, like the way like maybe you're struggling with like chronic illness or mental illness, or just like stress and challenge that is too big for you to handle on your own. Like, I do think there is a need to acknowledge where you need to admit you either need help, or you need to start acknowledging how bad or challenging things are in certain areas in order to start making improvements and getting help. And maybe you don't need outside help, but rather you just need to be honest with yourself, to be truthful with yourself, and that will lead to solutions unfolding naturally. But I definitely think I can understand why it might be hard to make changes in your day-to-day reality, because it seems like your material reality, the physical world around you, is very stressful. Maybe your job's very stressful. Maybe you don't have a job and that's stressful. Maybe, you know, you're in school and if that ain't stress, I don't know what is. Maybe you don't know what you want to be doing. Maybe, I think also too, just the general outside, like, well, if you're watching this, like when I upload it, like there are a lot of like collective material reality stressors, obviously. You know, I mean, between like the AI bubble and NVIDIA, well, I mean, I guess NVIDIA isn't part of the AI bubble, like nobody's gonna be getting RAM, like everybody's stressed out about the economy, like, well, not everybody, but you know what I mean, like, but it doesn't, you know what though, I gotta rant, because like, it was like in 2020, people are like, oh my God, like the economy's gonna crash, and it didn't. I don't know what the factors were to prevent that, but like everybody's screaming about it crashing. Like I'm sure it will. I'm sure it will. Cause that's what it does sometimes. But the collective stress of talking about it all the time really isn't helpful, and it's not conducive. You know, like like every year people say, oh, the housing bubble is gonna burst. That shit's still growing. Like, it's one of those things, like, where I think that you have enough stress on your plate well, I was just ranting about like how we as a collective deal with these systemic challenges that are somewhat out of our control. Somewhat, not entirely, but I definitely think you are maybe in denial about how much you're struggling right now, or how much like fear or stress is eating you alive. And that is keeping you stuck in this loop that is unhelpful and disempowering, and honestly maybe making you convinced like there's only doom and gloom to be forecasted. That's definitely not the truth, and that's so far from the truth. I would also say as well, a lack of sleep definitely seems to be making the material world even more stressful for you. So whether you take some melatonin, I mean, my heart goes out to the insomniacs out there. I can't give you any advice on what to do. I don't know what to do for that. That sounds awful and really hard. Maybe you need to look into insomnia. Maybe that's something that you're dealing with. Sleep and rest are very important. Like, you're not getting any mental rest whatsoever. And because you're not getting any mental rest, because your mind is in panic survival mode, and also having that compounded by the panic survival mode of the world around you, you've got no brain room to be resourceful, to believe in yourself, to make plans. Like, you can't, if all your bandwidth is going to that, of course you're not going to be able to come up with solutions or feel like you're taking charge. Because like the truth is right now, you're not in charge of your life right now. I think you're kind of avoiding looking at the things that would require you to take charge, because it's already really stressful and uncomfortable what you're experiencing. And I want to validate that. It is stressful and uncomfortable. And like, you are dealing with significant challenges that cannot be fixed by watching like aesthetic morning routines on YouTube. Because it's not really about that. On a deeper level, it's about the fact that you really don't have faith in yourself and in your reality right now. And that's not because you shouldn't have faith in yourself. It's just because the fear and whatever you're really struggling with has gotten far too loud. And your mind is very good at adapting and enduring. Well, not just your mind, your whole self is good at adapting and enduring. And so you're telling yourself it's fine, you're fine, when really you're not fine. And that's actually what would help you start to become fine. Because I think you'll be fine with not being fine. It's about the fact that you're not fine with the idea of not being fine. That makes sense. If it doesn't, don't worry about it. It's fine. Okay. Now, your relationships. This is not just like one type of relationship. This is just relational dynamics in general. Yeah, for that we have the Hanged Man in reverse. I feel like there's a part of you when it comes to your relational dynamics in general, I definitely think that a bit of a laissez-faire attitude is supportive and useful. But I do think there's a lot of resistance in surrendering control in terms of your relational dynamics. I think that maybe you know, the Hanged Man is about like surrender and stillness. And I think that, you know, maybe interpersonal relationships, obviously, like for everyone, can be very comforting and also something that is a source of respite, and also, you know, something that can make us feel less alone and be a distraction. But I definitely think that when it comes to your interpersonal relationships, like the most important one that you need to be focused on is the one with yourself. I really do. It's possible you could be looking at like relationships outside of, like, people outside of you and your relationships with them as a way to like kind of escape what's going on within you and what's going on in your world. And like specifically, I'm seeing for some of you guys, like you may know like you're not in a place to be dating people, or you may know that like you're not really in a place to be meeting new friends or giving a whole lot of yourself. For some of you, if you're being asked to be in a wedding, you may want to look at whether you can really handle that or not, because the expectations there might be too much for you. And if you really care about those relationships, it might actually be more benevolent to say, hey, like I just don't have the capacity for that right now, but like I can't wait to be there, or something like that. Like that might be really helpful for you. In general, being honest about where relationships are serving as a point of escapism or like a point of avoidance, and maybe taking a step back and kind of surrendering the need to seek distraction and avoidance through others. Like for some of you, I feel like you could be like, if like, let's say you're stuck in a cycle of rumination. Like I'm literally just getting this visual of someone like just like swiping through like a dating app and then like thinking like, this isn't what I need to be doing. It's like, and you know the whole time it's not what you're supposed to be doing. It doesn't even feel good. It's just like draining and feels kind of ick, but you can't stop yourself. I definitely think, number one, if there's any like apps like that make it hard for you to be in stillness, that make it hard for you to go within, that make it hard for you to, or that make it easy for you to avoid yourself, I definitely think creating barriers, at least temporarily, would be really beneficial and useful. But also, this is kind of a time of letting people do what they're gonna do. Like, in fact, I think you're being encouraged to take a kind of hands-off approach in your relationships right now, because this is an example of a time in life where your relationships need to be a little bit imbalanced, in the sense that you don't have a whole lot to give, but you do deserve to receive from the relationships in your world that you give so much to. But I think if you're trying to create substantial change in your relationships, I think you kind of need to let that be paused for a little bit so that you can start with the relationship with yourself. Even though that's not fun, it is what's necessary. Okay, now as for growth, evolution, your goals, your path forward, we have the Eight of Wands. You really are doing your best and you're moving forward, whether you want to or not. I do think that when it comes to your goals, like, taking action towards them in any way, I think, is wonderful. But this is a really interesting Eight of Wands because it's very chaotic, and typically the traditional Rider-Waite, the Eight of Wands doesn't even have a person in it. It just represents like all the wands are pointing the same way, and it represents like very fast forward momentum and action taking. I don't think that this little witch here needs to be taking action right now. I think she needs to be taking shelter. But then again, as a Midwesterner, I do understand the urge to stand outside and watch the tornadoes going. Your world is a bit of a storm right now. And you're not wrong in knowing that you do need to take action. But the action that you need to take is not like I don't know why I'm getting this example, but like let's say you're like, I need to set up a volleyball tournament outside right now. And like there's a tornado warning. I just want to say tornado because it's fun. The volleyball tournament needs to be postponed. You need to be taking shelter in an underground area or a place in your home that is away from windows, like a shower or a closet or, you know, something safe. You're right that you do need to be taking action. I just think you're not taking seriously what's important, because let's think about like natural disasters. Like those are emergencies. That's a state of emergency. It's important you take that seriously. And it's also important that you recognize like doing nothing is not the answer. Doing something is the answer. It's just about being honest about what is important to be done. It's silly to think you need to paint your house when there's a hurricane coming. You're just gonna have to paint it again. Like, you know what I mean? So you are in alignment with action taking. It's just though about seeing the truth of where the point of action needs to be, because you're so focused on trying to keep these wands in the air, you're not realizing the reason why it's so hard to keep them in the air is because there's a literal tornado behind you. Like you got some stressful things going on. It's okay to put down the plans you had and instead bring in the emergency plans, or get some plans for what to do in an emergency, because you're in one. And the emergency is about reconnecting, seeing clearly, seeing truthfully, and recognizing that being in denial is not going to help a thing. And the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So let's go ahead and pull some guidance and just see how, number one, you can get into alignment with these energies, and also what guidance in terms of like taking action would be beneficial for you. So this is the Everyday Witch Oracle, if you're curious. If you're into witchcraft or want to explore it, this oracle has a lot of like guidance on doing that. So if you're interested in that, go for it. Okay, what guidance spirit do you have for group 3 when it comes to stepping into their King of Wands energy and embracing leadership and action? So we have transformation and change. So this tells me that, number one, when it comes to your day-to-day, doing anything differently and anything that is aligned with the version of yourself you want to be, no matter how small it is, like that is you stepping into your King of Wands energy. So like, for example, maybe you want to be the type of person who makes their bed every day. I don't know why. I mean, I do know why it's good for you. I've always, it's so frustrating though. Like, what's the point of making the bed if you're just gonna get back in it? You know, I came from a family where we had to make our beds every day. So as an adult, I'm like, every time I make my bed, I just want to get back in it. Well, and you know, when your bed's made, it just looks so like sexy, and like I just want to get back in it and mess it all up. Like, so anything that is aligned with something different, no matter how small it is, even if it's just using different seasonings for dinner, or adding more vegetables to what you cook for yourself, or choosing to take a walk instead of doom scroll. You know what I mean? Like, even just those small changes, they will yield big results, because I think it's really honestly like small things, small decisions that you make. Like, I'm not going to dwell in disempowerment, or I can't do much, but I can start doing this, or I can't do much, but I can choose to redirect my energy in a more positive way. Like, those small things, you'll realize, like, number one, you'll yield a lot of positive results from that. But number two, you're in a greater process of transformation that is dependent on these other areas of life. And so you don't need to do, like, you don't need to make a completely new daily routine and completely change like everything in your life. Like, that's number one, way too destabilizing. And number two, it's just gonna make you feel even shittier about yourself, because you're gonna be like, I failed, I didn't do it. You didn't fail anything. The only thing you didn't fail at anything. You just, you know, it's like playing limbo, but then putting the bar literally on the floor. Like, your back don't bend that far, unless you're like the girl from The Exorcist, and that shit did not look comfortable. It's not, you're not meant to bend like that. So stop bending yourself in ways that are not compatible, but do embrace small, tiny, incremental changes that could be more beneficial for you. Okay. What about group three's material reality, their career, their school life, whatever their focus is in their material world and reality? What guidance do you have for them when it comes to being in alignment with this area, and also dealing with the intense like stress and overwhelm that they're dealing with? Imagination, imagine and envision. Well, first of all, when you find yourself like feeling like a loser or a failure, or feeling disempowered, or feeling like embarrassed or frustrated by what you haven't done or what you've done in the past, just remember, you were never part of that COVID celebrity video where they were all singing Imagine. Unless you are one of them and you're watching this right now, in which case, I mean, I'm not gonna say sorry, but like, I guess I hope you learned from that. I mean, like, thanks for the laughs. I don't know, it was goofy. Stuff like that, I would actually encourage you, because more than likely they're not watching this, so we can sit here and say, you can pat yourself on the back and say, no matter what you have or haven't done, you haven't done that. And it's not gonna live forever on the internet and be a meme for forever. Because that sucks. It's kind of funny. I mean, it sucks for them. Well, it sucks for us too. Like, it was... Life's funny. But I definitely think that you have a powerful imagination, and you are using it right now to fuel your fear. When in reality, like, and I would actually say, like, if you're someone who struggles with like maladaptive daydreaming, you don't need to stop struggling with it if you start daydreaming about things that give you hope, or give you like just a feeling of like everything will be okay, or just give you temporary distraction from the whatever deep anguish you're experiencing. I definitely think being delusional in positive ways instead of delusional in negative ways, and actually the ways in which you can be delusional in positive ways, they're not even delusion. It's just like you're just so far removed from your sense of hope, it doesn't feel truthful, but it is truthful. That's why being removed from it is so painful. I would also say as well, like, bringing just more whimsy into your everyday life. So if that means like wearing a fuzzy onesie, obviously depending on the dress code, I'd say more so at home. And if you want to go out into the world that way, that's totally fine. I applaud that, actually, because I think that humans, I love when people express themselves in dress, especially when it's chaotic. It's far more interesting than a gray t-shirt. Gray t-shirts suck anyway. Like, if you're sweaty, like, it's gonna expose you in 10 seconds. I'm just talking shit now. Okay. Let's see what it says. The hard part is I'm gonna have to figure out where it is, because I don't, it's probably air. It's probably in the air group, I imagine. Okay, where is the air group? That's the real question. Okay, yes. Imagination is at the core of any witchcraft practice. After all, if you're working towards some sort of goal, you have to be able to imagine it first. Unless you are lucky enough to be visited by an actual manifestation of god and goddess, you probably have to come up with an image that represents them to you. We use imagination and visualization all the time in prayer and ritual and spell casting and meditation. And just like any other skill, using your imagination becomes easier with practice. So let your imagination soar today and every day. So I'll just hold this up like that, and if you want to do any of the actions or guidance there, you can feel free to. But honestly, like, what would your life look like if you were joyful in it? That's a good place to start in terms of imagination. And joyful, I don't mean like it as a constant state of being that's not realistic. I mean rather like, what are things in your day, like in your material reality, that would bring you joy? Maybe it's laughing at cringe celebrity stunts. Maybe it's wearing a silly onesie. Maybe it's neither of those things. There's so many options and accessible pathways to experiencing big joys and small joys in our life. And sometimes we have to give ourselves permission. Maybe it's imagining the little sweet treat you want to have that you're going to get yourself later. I don't know, but I bet you do. Okay, what about when it comes to group 3's interpersonal dynamics? What guidance do you have for helping them surrender their need to control or surrender what isn't serving them? We make a move, which is ironic because the Hanged Man is all about stillness. I think what this really is like, is setting boundaries, and it's also it's saying like, hey, you need to be the one to say when you're unavailable, or you need to be the one to say, okay, I'll respond to them after I've meditated, or I'll respond to them like when I'm feeling better, or really just anything. Like, I think just moving away from where you've been is going to yield progress. But I also think as well, if you've been avoiding taking action of any kind in any of your relationships, especially out of fear of what the truth will be, I think the truth will, even if it's not what you want, be far more liberating and actually more of a relief than avoiding steps or actions you know you need to take. And finally, what about this 8 of Wands? What guidance do you have for group 3 when it comes to forward momentum? We have change in progress. So I really think, like, first of all, meditation for peace and serenity is on the back of the deck. Much easier said than done, but it's being suggested. The fact that we have change in progress here, though, I really do feel like a lot of these like, this is already happening naturally. Like, you're gonna move through this time and it's gonna be okay. I know it doesn't feel like it's gonna be okay, And it's because it's not okay right now, but it will be okay. And it actually is okay. It just doesn't feel that way. And it's okay to feel that way. This has been a giant game of me repeating myself in different ways. And I've had fun. I would also say, like, with this change in progress, like, changing the action you are taking and kind of letting life flow in ways where you recognize what isn't working, what's not constructive, and instead of figuring out what you need to do, just doing nothing, because that will help you see something in terms of like, ooh, I could shift this, or ooh, maybe I actually need to focus a little bit more on myself right now, or maybe I need to focus on this area right now, like this is really calling to my attention. I think that, like, kind of just trust the process, trust where action takes you, or trust what your internal compass is saying. The only time you can't trust yourself is when you're lying to yourself, or not being honest with yourself, or not facing something. So don't trust your rhythms when you're in denial about something, or at the very least, I wouldn't say don't trust yourself, but I would say, like, question what feels like the move to make or the action to take when you're in a place where you are disconnected from yourself and really overwhelmed. But at the same time, like, I think that, like, this, like, things are going to naturally resolve themselves here. Like, change, progress, transformation, those are big themes in your energy. And they're not coming from you taking this, like, big action and taking this big step forward. It's actually with you just acknowledging what the truth is. And even if that truth is the fact that you don't know, or maybe that truth is the fact that you're struggling right now, like, that is far more powerful than sticking to the status quo, sticking to the devil you do know, and continuing to spin your wheels and get nowhere and be frustrated that you're getting nowhere. Don't do that, and you'll be getting somewhere, and it'll be better than where you've been. But I have faith in you. You'll be just fine. You'll get this worked out, and it's a greater process too. Like, there are certain things that you're not gonna have clarity on. Like, if you're waiting for action, for clarity to take action, reverse the process. Trust that action will yield more clarity. Because even if you do take actions that are the same as what you've always done, or that you know isn't going to yield to change, there's still wisdom and opportunities for wisdom in those experiences to either be like, yep, I can rest assured, yep, this doesn't work for me, or maybe you can start to see what impulses or what behaviors spark that. There's just a lot there, and you can trust yourself to see clearly. But your own inner voice really needs to be heard, and I don't think it can be heard until you start to recognize how you've been avoiding your own internal voice because you haven't wanted to hear the truth of what your experience is right now. And the truth is, what your experience is right now is just a very powerful breaking point that will allow you to move beyond where you've been and actually start getting to where you always wanted to be. Even if you never knew what that was, you'll start to figure it out as you go through this. So group 3, that is where I'm going to leave this reading. Thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you so much for letting my ads play in the background, at least for the first 30 seconds while you do something else. That is one of the most helpful and powerful ways to support me and my channel. But if you'd like to do that in other ways, like in this video, comment down below. Subscribing if you haven't already is all really helpful. Be sure to be notified, or you can click notifications as well. You can check out my second channel, maybe if there's anything you wanted to see, let me know, because the truth is I have no fucking clue what I'm gonna post, even though I've had a million ideas. decisions. Yeah, other ways to support me are linked down below. You can just send me love. I'm definitely sending you love right back. So I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for watching and for letting me read for you. I hope you all have a wonderful day or night whenever it is that you're watching this video, and I hope you'll come back and see me again soon. Bye!